I had never seen my husband, Mark, so red-faced. I still remember the glint of fury in his eyes as he slammed the fridge door, the new lock rattling like a warning. "If there's no money, then sit at the holiday without food," he shouted, voice cracking with anger. I swallowed, pretending to be small, helpless, and completely penniless. "My name is Lauren Whitman, I'm 34, and I've been married to Mark for 9 years. We've had our ups and downs, but tonight, I wanted to see just how far his temper could stretch. The prank was cruel, yes, but curiosity burned hotter than guilt. I spent the day carefully composing my misery. I took the empty fridge as a stage, snapping photos of cupboards devoid of snacks, sipping water like it was a gourmet wine. Every time he peeked, I flinched, my eyes wide with mock despair. By evening, he stormed home, muttering under his breath, still furious. I held my calm, smiling softly, and pretended to be on the brink of starvation. Then, as he rounded the kitchen corner, my fingers pried open a small black tin. I scooped the shimmering black caviar onto my plate. Mark froze. His jaw dropped. Where did the money come from?" I smiled sweetly. "Oh, I just found some." And then he toppled off his chair. Mark lay sprawled on the kitchen floor, mouth open, eyes wide in disbelief. I knelt beside him, feigning concern, but inside, I was shaking with suppressed laughter. The shock on his face was worth every second of planning this little stunt. I, Lauren Whitman, had always loved testing Mark's temper, small pranks, harmless jabs, but tonight was different. This was New Year's Eve, and the stakes felt deliciously higher. The caviar shimmered in the dim kitchen light, mocking him silently. He scrambled upright, shaking his fists, voice trembling. "Lauren, how is this possible? Where did you get this?" His words tumbled over each other, panic seeping through his rage. I shrugged, the picture of innocence. "I don't know. I just found it." He glared at the locked fridge, then back at me, realization dawning. The irony was sharp. He'd been so obsessed with controlling everything that he hadn't even considered I could outsmart him. He stomped, pacing the small kitchen, muttering about budgets, responsibilities, and how dare you. I took my time, savoring his confusion, my plate untouched until he finally stopped, breathing heavily. Then I casually dipped my spoon into the caviar, offering a bite to him. His face froze again, the mix of anger and humiliation making him look almost human in a way I'd never seen. And that's when I knew I hadn't just pranked him. I had him. Mark's hands trembled as he reached for the plate, eyes darting between me and the black caviar. "Lauren, tell me, this isn't real money, right? You didn't." His voice broke, a mix of disbelief and simmering anger. I kept my expression calm, letting the suspense hang thick in the kitchen air. I took a slow bite, savoring the luxurious taste, the irony of the moment swirling in my chest. Mark's face contorted, a storm of emotions battling inside him. Humiliation, awe, and frustration all at once. He had always believed control was power, but tonight he had none. Why didn't you tell me?" he finally stammered, clutching the countertop like it was a lifeline. I tilted my head, soft smile in place, voice smooth and deliberate. "I thought it would be fun." He looked around the kitchen, taking in the locked fridge, the empty cupboards I had staged, the meticulous photos scattered on the counter. Every detail had been a puzzle piece designed to make him panic. Every carefully executed moment now culminated in this scene, him powerless, me in command. Mark sank into a chair, defeated, running a hand over his face. I reached over and placed the spoon down gently, the black caviar gleaming like a trophy. And in that silence, I realized this prank had become more than fun. It had become a mirror. And Mark didn't like what he saw. Mark stayed slouched in the chair, eyes fixed on the caviar as if it had swallowed his dignity whole. I could see the tension in his shoulders, the rigid line of his jaw, the quiet fury that simmered beneath every exhale. I, Lauren Whitman, had never enjoyed watching him unravel like this, but tonight, the timing felt perfect. He finally muttered, almost under his breath, "You planned all this, didn't you?" I nodded slowly, letting the truth land like a weight. Of course, I said softly, deliberately. I wanted to see what would happen if the fridge was locked and the holiday was empty. Mark's hand shot out to shake his head. Lauren, you can't. This is insane. This is cruel. The words tumbled out, a mix of disbelief and helplessness. I leaned closer, calm, collected, my lips curling just enough to unsettle him. Cruel? Maybe, but harmless and delicious. He stared at me, as if trying to process the fact that his wife, the woman he had tried to control for years, was the one who held the upper hand. The kitchen, dimly lit, seemed to shrink around us. The locked fridge, the empty cupboards, and now the black caviar were all reminders of the illusion he had bought into. Mark sank back, speechless, realizing I had orchestrated every detail. And in that moment I knew I wasn't just pranking him. I was rewriting the rules. Mark's anger simmered beneath the surface, a storm I could almost taste. I sat across from him, Lauren Whitman, plate untouched now, eyes fixed on him as if daring him to speak. Every muscle in his body screamed frustration, but no words came out. I had set the stage, and he was trapped in the performance. He finally exhaled sharply, rubbing his temples. Why go this far? He asked, voice low, almost broken. I tilted my head, letting the silence stretch, savoring his discomfort. Because, I said carefully, sometimes people need to feel a little helpless to see the truth. Mark's gaze flicked to the fridge, then the counter, then the scattered photographs. His mind was racing, connecting dots, realizing the meticulous planning I'd put into this prank. Every staged cupboard, every frozen expression, every calculated flinch, it all pointed back to me. This isn't funny, he whispered finally, voice shaky. I smiled, soft but firm. Maybe not for you, but for me, it's enlightening. The evening air felt heavier, the room smaller. I saw him shift uncomfortably, realizing the caviar wasn't just a luxury, it was a symbol that control had shifted, that his assumptions had crumbled. And as I picked up my spoon again, Mark's eyes widened. He hadn't seen the final piece yet. I hadn't revealed the best part. I set the spoon down slowly, letting the sound tap against the plate like a clock counting down. Mark's eyes followed every movement, pupils wide, chest rising and falling in shallow gasps. Lauren Whitman, I reminded myself, calm, deliberate. He had no idea what was coming next. I reached into my pocket, pulling out a small envelope I had slipped in earlier unnoticed. I let it slide onto the table between us. What's this? He asked, voice tight, wary. I leaned back, sipping water as though nothing could touch me. Just a little extra surprise, I said softly, deliberately vague. Mark tore the envelope open, and his jaw dropped further. Inside was the balance of my hidden funds, the money I had quietly reserved weeks ago. He stared at it like it was some alien artifact, his previous rage clashing with disbelief. Lauren, you planned all of this, every step? He whispered, shaking. I nodded slowly, letting the truth sink in. Yes. Every moment, every locked door, every empty cupboard, it was all part of tonight. Mark sank back, staring at the caviar, the envelope, the locked fridge, realizing he had been outplayed. And in that moment, I didn't just see shock. I saw respect slowly building beneath his fury. The twist? He still didn't know the most important piece was coming next. Mark's hands trembled as he picked up the envelope again, inspecting the crisp bills like they might vanish if he blinked. His face, usually so sharp and commanding, was softened by awe and disbelief. Lauren Whitman, I reminded myself, calm, poised. This was my stage, and he was fully in it. You did all of this? He asked, voice hoarse, eyes flicking between me, the caviar and the locked fridge. I nodded slowly, letting a faint smile curl my lips. Every detail, I said, soft but unyielding. From the photos to the empty cupboards, the lock, the caviar, everything was planned. Mark leaned back, exhaling slowly, like a storm finally spent. There was a flicker in his gaze, a grudging admiration buried beneath lingering frustration. I underestimated you, he admitted, voice barely above a whisper. I reached for my spoon again, casually dipping into the caviar, letting the luxurious taste linger. Sometimes, I said softly, people need a little chaos to see the truth. He stayed silent, the weight of comprehension settling in. For 9 years, he had believed control meant power. Tonight, he learned otherwise. And as I finished my bite, Mark finally realized the real joke wasn't the caviar. It was that I had orchestrated everything without him ever knowing the full plan. He sat frozen, the room echoing with quiet defeat as I smiled knowingly. Mark's shoulders slumped, the last flicker of defiance fading. He finally looked at me, Lauren Whitman, and for the first time in years, I saw humility there, mixed with disbelief and something like respect. The envelope lay between us, the caviar untouched, the locked fridge silent witness to his unraveling. I can't believe you did all this, he muttered. I tilted my head, soft smile in place. Believe it. Or don't. The point isn't the caviar or the money, it's that I can. And tonight you see it. He swallowed hard, eyes darting to the kitchen counter, the cupboards, the photos. Every meticulous detail had been a mirror held up to him, showing how easily he assumed control. And now, finally, he understood. I had orchestrated every moment, every reaction, every tremor of his anger. Mark exhaled slowly, defeated, the tension leaving him like a tide receding. I stood, collecting the envelope and the empty caviar tin, feeling the quiet satisfaction of a lesson fully delivered. He had been humbled without a word of violence, without shame beyond his own realization. I leaned close, voice soft but firm. Next time you try to control everything, remember this night. He nodded, silent. And as I walked out of the kitchen, the soft click of the fridge lock echoed behind me, a small reminder that the power had shifted.